I used to believe the city never slept. Neon lights flickering like restless stars, engines humming lullabies to the lonely. But the night I arrived at the Kang estate, the world felt utterly still. Maybe it was fear, maybe awe, or maybe the weight of the gate itself, black iron shaped like curling dragons, each scale gleaming beneath security lights that never blinked. I clutched my small duffel tighter. The rain had already soaked through my cheap shoes, and the guard standing inside the gate eyed me like I was something scraped off a tire. Name? He barked. Jiwoo. Kim Jiwoo. I'm the new caretaker. His brow lifted. Caretaker? For whom? The heir, I said, my voice barely above the hiss of rain. At that, the guard's expression changed. Something flickered between pity and disbelief. Good luck, he muttered, and buzzed the gate open. The drive up to the mansion felt endless. Trees stood like silent soldiers, the gravel path stretching until it met light. And there it was. The Kang family's world. Glass walls and cold marble. A place too clean for anyone human. A woman in a fitted black suit greeted me at the door. I'm Madam Choi, the house manager. Follow me. Don't wander. Don't speak unless spoken to. Her heels clicked across the floor. Even her perfume smelled expensive. Inside, the air was thick with something electric. Alpha scent, layered and heavy, though faint from distance. It made my pulse quicken despite myself. Omegas weren't supposed to enter a domain like this unshielded. Madam Choi led me past grand staircases and into a narrow hallway lined with locked doors. The young master stays on the east wing. You'll handle his meals, medicine, and therapy schedule. Do not disturb him unnecessarily. He dislikes noise and people. I swallowed. Understood. She stopped at the final door. The handle was silver, untouched. Her eyes softened for the first time. You'll know soon enough why no one lasts in this position. Then she left me there. The room beyond was dim, curtains drawn despite the glow outside. I stepped in quietly, heart pounding. He was there, by the window, in a wheelchair, one leg crossed over the other. Even from behind, he radiated power. Broad shoulders beneath a gray sweater. Dark hair, longer than expected, a bit unkempt. You're early, he said without turning. His voice was calm, low, but it carried the weight of command that made my Omega instincts tighten. The schedule said... I wrote the schedule? A pause. Then, softly, you're trembling. Heat crawled up my neck. It's just... cold. He turned then, and the breath left me. Kang Jae-hyun, the billionaire's only son. Photographs didn't do him justice. His features were sharp, aristocratic, but his eyes were darker than any rumor. Obsidian pools that seemed to look straight through you. But what caught me wasn't his beauty. It was the faint gleam of metal below his right knee, the sleek prosthetic that whispered when he shifted his chair. So, he said, studying me, Father sent another Omega. How long before you quit? I won't quit. His mouth curved, not into a smile, but something close. They all say that. He wheeled closer until I could smell the faint mix of rain and steel on him. Tell me, Jiwoo, he murmured. Do you pity me? No. The word escaped before I could think. I just want to do my job. For a second, silence stretched. Then he laughed, quiet, brittle. Good. Pity is useless currency here. Hours passed. I learned his routine. Morning therapy, reading, long silences broken only by piano notes echoing from another room. But it wasn't the air who scared me most. It was the two alphas who guarded him like shadows. Seo Minjae, tall and sharp-eyed, carried authority like a blade. Every step he took announced control. The other, Han Do-gyun, rarely spoke at all, his eyes a calm gray storm that missed nothing. They arrived just as I finished setting Jae-hyun's tea. New caretaker? Minjae asked. His voice was smooth but heavy with challenge. Yes, I said, bowing. Do-gyun's gaze flicked to my wrist, where my Omega tag glinted faintly. Unclaimed, he noted. His tone was neutral, but something in it made my stomach twist. Enough, Jae-hyun said quietly. He's not here for you to toy with. The way he said it, possessive, protective, sent a strange thrill through me. After they left, Jae-hyun looked at me again. You should avoid them when you can. They follow father's orders, not mine. I'll remember that. But curiosity gnawed at me. Why would two elite alphas guard a crippled heir no one was allowed to touch? Later that night, unable to sleep, I wandered toward the piano room. The mansion was eerily silent, except for the faint music drifting through the hall. Notes slow and melancholic. I peeked inside. Jae-hyun sat there, his fingers gliding across the keys, eyes closed. The moonlight carved his profile in silver. He looked human. Broken, yes, but not defeated. Without thinking, I whispered, "That's beautiful." His hands stilled. Did I give permission to watch me? I'm sorry, Come closer. I hesitated. His tone was soft, but it wasn't a request. When I reached his side, he looked up, studying me again. Everyone leaves eventually. They can't stand the quiet. Or me. I'm not everyone. For the first time, his gaze wavered, like he wasn't sure whether to believe me or destroy me for the lie. Then something unexpected. An echo of a scent. Faint, sharp, unmistakably alpha. Not his. From the doorway, a shadow moved. Min-jae leaned against the frame, arms crossed. You shouldn't be here alone, he said. His eyes gleamed in the dark. It's dangerous. Dangerous, I whispered. For you, he replied, voice dropping low. Before I could answer, Jae-hyun's chair scraped against the floor. Leave him, Min-jae. But the guard didn't move. You're forgetting the rules, young master. An unbonded Omega wandering the East Wing at night? The tension was thick enough to taste. Two alphas, one broken, one burning, both staring at me like I was the first storm of spring. Then Min-jae smiled, slow and knowing. Let's test how long this one lasts. Sleep was impossible. Even behind a locked door, I could feel the weight of the mansion pressing in. The scent of alphas, faint but unmistakable, threaded into the very air. I lay awake on the small bed they'd given me in the East Wing, staring at the ornate ceiling, trying to still my racing pulse. A test, Min-jae had said. The word echoed like thunder through the night. By dawn, the mansion stirred. Somewhere down the hall, footsteps moved with military precision. The smell of coffee, metal, and faint leather drifted under my door. When I stepped out, Min-jae was already waiting in the corridor, immaculate in a black uniform that somehow made him look taller, sharper. Morning, caretaker, he said, the faintest smirk curving his mouth. You're coming with me. I followed, trying not to let my nerves show. He led me out through the glass doors into the courtyard, where the morning fog still clung to the stone like ghosts refusing to leave. In the center stood Jae-hyun, already in his wheelchair, his expression unreadable. Beside him stood Do-gyun, silent, still as a statue. Ji-woo, Jae-hyun said quietly. You've met my guards. Today, they'll see if you can handle this position. Handle? I asked, voice barely steady. Min-jae stepped forward, crossing his arms. Simple. The heir doesn't need sympathy. He needs discipline. You're here to serve, but if you can't withstand pressure, you'll be gone by noon. Pressure? Before I could ask again, he moved. Fast, sudden. His hand shot forward, gripping my wrist just hard enough to make me stumble. Instinct check, he said calmly. Let's see if you flinch or faint. His scent hit me first. Strong, commanding, alpha dominance pouring off him like fire. Every Omega instinct screamed submit, but I forced my body still. My breathing came fast, shallow, but I didn't step back. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper against my ear. Good. You didn't faint. But you're shaking. Jae-hyun's voice cut through, low and sharp. That's enough, Min-jae. The guard released me instantly, straightening with a casual shrug. He passed the first part. The first? I asked, my voice hoarse. Do-hyun stepped forward, silent until now. Second test, he said evenly. Obedience. He nodded toward the mansion's steps. Wheelchair ramps malfunctioning. Carry the young master up. My eyes widened. Carry him? Do you have a problem with that? Min Jae asked, amusement flickering in his eyes. I looked at Jae-hyun. His face betrayed nothing, but the faint tension in his jaw told me he hated this just as much as I did. Still, I stepped forward. No problem. The chair was heavier than I expected. When I tried to lift it, Jae-hyun's hand landed lightly on mine. Don't strain yourself, he said softly. This isn't necessary. I met his eyes, dark and piercing, like midnight wrapped around lightning. Maybe not. But if I can't even help you upstairs, what am I doing here? Something flickered behind his gaze. A mix of surprise and something dangerously close to admiration. So I lifted. Slowly, carefully, I maneuvered the chair up each marble step. The guards watched in silence, every sound, the squeak of wheels, my heavy breathing, echoing through the courtyard. By the time I reached the top, my arms ached, and sweat clung to my shirt. Jae-hyun looked at me then, really looked, and said, almost to himself, "You're not like the others." After breakfast, the day blurred into a series of tasks. I organized medications, adjusted therapy equipment, fetched tea that went untouched. Every time I passed a window, the world outside looked too perfect. Trimmed gardens, glistening cars, a fountain that whispered like a secret. Inside, though, the air was thick with tension. The mansion felt alive, watching. And always, they were there. Min Jae, ever the predator, moving with quiet arrogance, his sharp gaze tracking my every step. Do-hyun, the silent shadow, who never looked directly at me but always seemed to know where I was. And Jae-hyun, the storm's calm center, whose silence said more than words ever could. That evening, I found him in the library. The room was huge, walls lined with old books and glass cases displaying artifacts from a life I could never afford to dream of. He sat near the window again, sunlight spilling across his profile. "Do you believe in fate, Ji-woo?" he asked suddenly. The question startled me. Fate? He turned the page of a book, not looking up. My father does. He believes some people are born alphas, some omegas, and the rest exist to serve. That power can't be changed. Do you believe that too? I asked. He finally looked at me, eyes gleaming with quiet defiance. No. But the world doesn't care what I believe. There was pain there. Buried deep, old and sharp. I hesitated, then said, maybe power isn't in what we're born as. Maybe it's in what we choose to do anyway. For a moment, his expression softened. But before he could reply, Min Jae's voice came from the doorway. Dinner's ready, young master. His gaze slid to me, assessing. You're still here. I work here, I replied quietly. He smiled, faint and dangerous. For now. After dinner, the sky turned a bruised purple. The house grew quiet again, except for the faint hum of electricity and the ticking of an antique clock. I was cleaning the tea tray when Do-hyun appeared in the doorway. The heir wants to see you, he said. I followed him down the hall. This time, we didn't turn toward the east wing. We descended, below the mansion. Cold air met my skin. The walls turned to stone, the lighting dimmer. What is this place? I asked. Storage, Do-hyun said shortly. And other things. We stopped at a steel door. He keyed in a code. It opened with a hiss. Inside was a smaller room. Quiet, sterile, with a single chair and a table. Jae-hyun waited inside, dressed in black. Close the door, he said softly. Do-hyun obeyed and left us alone. My pulse quickened. Jae-hyun looked up, eyes unreadable. You passed the test. I let out a shaky breath. That's good, I guess. He didn't smile. But passing doesn't mean safe. He rolled forward. The soft whir of his chair loud in the silence. This house isn't what it seems. My father, he didn't hire you to help me. He hired you to watch me. My stomach dropped. Watch you? His gaze hardened. He thinks I'm planning something. He's right. The air seemed to freeze. You're planning? What? Jae-hyun's lips curved, not in amusement but in warning. Freedom, and I don't know yet if you're my enemy or my chance. Batch 3. Whispers behind glass. The silence after Jae-hyun's confession stretched until it felt like the room itself might shatter under the weight of it. Freedom. The word pulsed in my head like a heartbeat. He turned the wheelchair toward the far wall. A pane of reinforced glass divided the small chamber from another space, a vault glowing faintly blue from security lights. Inside were rows of sleek black cases, each marked with the Kang family crest. What's in there? I asked. Everything my father built his empire on, he said, and everything he stole. He looked over his shoulder. Tell me, Jiwoo, how far would you go for freedom? I hesitated. As far as it takes not to be owned by anyone. A small, almost invisible smile touched his lips. Then maybe we understand each other. Before I could ask more, the steel door hissed open again. Min-jae stepped inside, followed by Do-gyun. Jae-hyun's expression shifted instantly. Calm, cold, unreadable. What are you doing here without permission? Min-jae demanded, eyes slicing toward me. Relax, Jae-hyun said smoothly. I wanted my new caretaker to know where the emergency supplies are kept. Min-jae's gaze lingered on me, sharp as broken glass. Supplies, he repeated. Right. He didn't believe it. I could see it in the tight line of his jaw. Do-gyun said nothing, but when his eyes met mine, something flickered there. Warning or sympathy? I couldn't tell. Enough for tonight, Min-jae said curtly. Young master, your father requested a call, and you, he added to me, return to your quarters. I bowed quickly and obeyed, but as I stepped into the hall, I could still feel Jae-hyun's gaze on my back, heavy and unreadable. Sleep came in fragments. When I woke again, pale dawn light leaked through the curtains. Voices echoed faintly through the vents, muffled, angry. I followed the sound to the atrium overlooking the main floor. Below, Min-jae was speaking into a comm device. No, sir. He hasn't left the estate, but he's hiding something. The Omega's involvement is uncertain. Yes. I'll handle it. My breath caught. He's reporting to the father. I stepped back too fast, the floorboard creaked. Min-jae's head snapped upward. Who's there? I darted away, heart pounding, slipping behind a column as he stormed up the stairs. For a moment, his scent, strong, sharp, cold as steel, flooded the air. Then he was gone, heading down another corridor. I pressed a hand to my chest. I needed to tell Jae-hyun. But how? The walls had ears. That afternoon, the mansion buzzed with unusual activity. Delivery trucks, uniformed men, hushed orders. Madame Choi whispered that Mr. Kang himself might visit soon. The heir's rebellion suddenly felt much more dangerous. When I entered Jae-hyun's study, he was staring out the window at the driveway below. He's coming, he murmured. Your father? He nodded once. He never comes here without a reason. Should I? Stay close, he interrupted. If he sees you, he'll think you're harmless. Keep it that way. His tone was command, but there was an edge of trust I hadn't heard before. Evening descended with a storm. Thunder rolled across the hills as sleek black cars pulled through the gates. From behind the study door, I watched the billionaire himself stride inside, a man cut from shadow and money. Kang Jae-hyun. The kind of alpha who didn't need to speak to be obeyed. Jae-hyun faced him in silence. I hear you've been disobedient, his father said finally, his voice smooth as oil. I've been alive, Jae-hyun replied. That seems to bother you. Hyunwoo's eyes flicked to the wheelchair, then to me. And who's this? Another stray Omega? My throat tightened. Caretaker. Sir. He smiled thinly. I see. You have a habit of collecting fragile things, Jae-hyun. I have a habit of keeping what others throw away, Jae-hyun shot back. The tension snapped like lightning. "Watch your tone," Hyunwoo warned. "You know what's at stake." He turned to Min-jae and Do-gyun. "Keep him contained. And if the Omega interferes—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Then he left, the storm swallowing his car as it vanished down the drive. Jae-hyun's hands clenched on the armrest. The faint whir of the chair sounded like a growl. "He means to cut me off completely," he said. "Control every breath." I stepped closer. "Then we can't stay quiet." He looked up sharply. "We?" "Yes," I said, heart hammering. "You said you needed a chance. I can be that." For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Tomorrow night. Meet me in the vault again, and tell no one." The rest of the day passed in a haze of nerves. I replayed every glance, every whisper. Was Min-jae already suspicious? Did Do-gyun know? By midnight, the mansion slept, or pretended to. I slipped through the corridors, every shadow a threat. When I reached the lower floor, the vault door was already open. Jae-hyun waited inside, dressed in dark clothes that made him look more phantom than air. "Come in," he said. Inside, the blue lights were dimmer now. The cases had been moved. Several lay open, revealing sleek data drives and bundles of documents. "These files prove everything," he said. "Illegal mergers, bribery, human trafficking under the Kang Industries subsidiaries. If they're released, the empire collapses." My throat went dry. "And your father?" "He'll fall with it." Before I could answer, an alarm blared, sharp, metallic. Red lights flooded the room. Jae-hyun's eyes widened. Someone triggered the security override. The door slammed shut behind us. From the intercom above, Min-jae's voice echoed, cold and controlled. "I warned you, caretaker. You should have left when you could." Jae-hyun reached for the control panel, typing in rapid commands, but the screen flashed, "Access denied." "Min-jae locked it from the outside," he said. I stared at the glowing cases, the alarms, the sealed door. "What do we do?" He looked up at me, voice low and fierce. "We finish what we started." He pressed a hidden switch beneath the desk. A narrow passage opened in the wall, dark and uninviting. "Underground exit," he said. "It leads to the old tunnels." "Go." "What about you?" "I'll stall them. You take the drives." "I'm not leaving you." Our eyes met, Alpha and Omega, worlds apart yet bound by the same desperation. "Ji-woo," he said quietly. "Don't make this harder." The door behind us shuddered. Heavy footsteps echoed above. "Go!" he shouted. I grabbed the drives and ran into the tunnel just as the steel door burst open behind me. Min-jae's voice thundered through the vault, furious, betrayed. And then the world went black as the passage door slammed shut. The silence after Jae-hyun's confession stretched until it felt like the room itself might shatter under the weight of it. Freedom. The word pulsed in my head like a heartbeat. He turned the wheelchair toward the far wall. A pane of reinforced glass divided the small chamber from another space, a vault glowing faintly blue from security lights. Inside were rows of sleek black cases, each marked with the Kang family crest. "What's in there?" I asked. "Everything my father built his empire on," he said, "and everything he stole." He looked over his shoulder. "Tell me, Ji-woo, how far would you go for freedom?" I hesitated. "As far as it takes not to be owned by anyone." A small, almost invisible smile touched his lips. "Then maybe we understand each other." Before I could ask more, the steel door hissed open again. Min-jae stepped inside, followed by Do-gyun. Jae-hyun's expression shifted instantly, calm, cold, unreadable. "What are you doing here without permission?" Min-jae demanded, eyes slicing toward me. "Relax," Jae-hyun said smoothly. "I wanted my new caretaker to know where the emergency supplies are kept." Min-jae's gaze lingered on me, sharp as broken glass. "Supplies," he repeated. "Right." He didn't believe it. I could see it in the tight line of his jaw. Do-gyun said nothing, but when his eyes met mine, something flickered there. Warning or sympathy, I couldn't tell. "Enough for tonight," Min Jae said curtly. Young master, your father requested a call. And you, he added to me, return to your quarters. I bowed quickly and obeyed, but as I stepped into the hall, I could still feel Jae-hyun's gaze on my back, heavy and unreadable. Sleep came in fragments. When I woke again, pale dawn light leaked through the curtains. Voices echoed faintly through the vents, muffled, angry. I followed the sound to the atrium overlooking the main floor. Below, Min Jae was speaking into a comm device. No, sir. He hasn't left the estate, but he's hiding something. The Omega's involvement is uncertain. Yes, I'll handle it. My breath caught. He's reporting to the father. I stepped back too fast. The floorboard creaked. Min Jae's head snapped upward. Who's there? I darted away, heart pounding, slipping behind a column as he stormed up the stairs. For a moment, his scent, strong, sharp, cold as steel, flooded the air. Then he was gone, heading down another corridor. I pressed a hand to my chest. I needed to tell Jae-hyun. But how? The walls had ears. That afternoon, the mansion buzzed with unusual activity. Delivery trucks, uniformed men, hushed orders. Madame Choi whispered that Mr. Kang himself might visit soon. The heir's rebellion suddenly felt much more dangerous. When I entered Jae-hyun's study, he was staring out the window at the driveway below. He's coming, he murmured. Your father? He nodded once. He never comes here without a reason. Should I? Stay close, he interrupted. If he sees you, he'll think you're harmless. Keep it that way. His tone was command, but there was an edge of trust I hadn't heard before. Evening descended with a storm. Thunder rolled across the hills as sleek black cars pulled through the gates. From behind the study door, I watched the billionaire himself stride inside. A man cut from shadow and money. Kang Jae-hyun, the kind of alpha who didn't need to speak to be obeyed. Jae-hyun faced him in silence. I hear you've been disobedient, his father said finally, his voice smooth as oil. I've been alive, Jae-hyun replied. That seems to bother you. Hyun-woo's eyes flicked to the wheelchair, then to me. And who's this? Another stray Omega? My throat tightened. Caretaker, sir. He smiled thinly. I see. You have a habit of collecting fragile things, Jae-hyun. I have a habit of keeping what others throw away, Jae-hyun shot back. The tension snapped like lightning. Watch your tone, Hyun-woo warned. You know what's at stake. He turned to Min Jae and Do-gyun. Keep him contained, and if the Omega interferes... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Then he left, the storm swallowing his car as it vanished down the drive. Jae-hyun's hands clenched on the armrest. The faint whir of the chair sounded like a growl. He means to cut me off completely, he said. Control every breath. I stepped closer. Then we can't stay quiet. He looked up sharply. We? Yes, I said, heart hammering. You said you needed a chance. I can be that. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, slowly, he nodded. Tomorrow night. Meet me in the vault again. And tell no one. The rest of the day passed in a haze of nerves. I replayed every glance, every whisper. Was Min Jae already suspicious? Did Do-gyun know? By midnight, the mansion slept. Or pretended to. I slipped through the corridors, every shadow a threat. When I reached the lower floor, the vault door was already open. Jae-hyun waited inside, dressed in dark clothes that made him look more phantom than air. Come in, he said. Inside, the blue lights were dimmer now. The cases had been moved. Several lay open, revealing sleek data drives and bundles of documents. These files prove everything, he said. Illegal mergers, bribery, human trafficking under the Kang Industries subsidiaries. If they're released, the empire collapses. My throat went dry. And your father? He'll fall with it. Before I could answer, an alarm blared, sharp, metallic. Red lights flooded the room. Jae-hyun's eyes widened. Someone triggered the security override. The door slammed shut behind us. From the intercom above, Min Jae's voice echoed, cold and controlled. I warned you, caretaker. You should have left when you could. Jae-hyun reached for the control panel, typing in rapid commands, but the screen flashed. Access denied. Min Jae locked it from the outside, he said. I stared at the glowing cases, the alarms, the sealed door. What do we do? He looked up at me, voice low and fierce. We finish what we started. He pressed a hidden switch beneath the desk. A narrow passage opened in the wall, dark and uninviting. Underground exit, he said. It leads to the old tunnels. Go. What about you? I'll stall them. You take the drives. I'm not leaving you. Our eyes met, Alpha and Omega, worlds apart yet bound by the same desperation. Ji-woo, he said quietly, don't make this harder. The door behind us shuddered. Heavy footsteps echoed above. Go, he shouted. I grabbed the drives and ran into the tunnel just as the steel door burst open behind me. Min Jae's voice thundered through the vault, furious, betrayed. And then the world went black as the passage door slammed shut. The darkness was thick, almost alive. Each breath came ragged as I stumbled through the narrow tunnel, clutching the drives to my chest. The hum of the alarms above still echoed through the concrete like a heartbeat that wouldn't die. Water dripped from the low ceiling. My shoes were soaked. Somewhere far behind, muffled shouts bounced through the walls. I kept moving. Jae-hyun's last words rang in my ears. Don't make this harder. Too late. Everything was already hard, breathing, thinking, existing. I turned a corner, the tunnel widening into an old maintenance shaft. Dim emergency lights flickered along the floor, leading toward a rusted metal hatch. Freedom? Maybe. Or another trap. I pressed my palm against the hatch and froze. A familiar scent, sharp, crisp, dominant, cut through the damp air. Min Jae. Before I could run, a strong hand grabbed my wrist and slammed me against the wall. Leaving already? His voice was low. Dangerous. His face half-shadowed, rain dripping from his hair. He must have followed the tunnel's side entrance. I struggled, but he pinned me easily, one arm against my throat. The drives clattered to the ground. Where is he? He demanded. Still inside, I gasped. He told me to go. Min Jae's eyes flicked down to the drives. So that's what this is about, treason. It's truth, I shouted. Your boss built an empire on lies. Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, or maybe shame. You think you understand anything? He hissed. You're a pawn in his game, just like the rest of us. His scent flared, alpha dominance rolling off him in waves that made my knees tremble. I hated that my body reacted at all. Let me go, I whispered. If you ever cared about him, about anyone, let me go. Min Jae's jaw tightened. You have no idea what caring costs in this house. Then, suddenly, he released me. The pressure vanished as quickly as it came. He turned away, voice hard again. There's an old exit down that way. Take it. And if anyone asks, you never saw me. What about Jae-hyun? He hesitated, just once, then muttered, He's not the only one who wants his father gone. Before I could reply, he disappeared back into the darkness. The tunnel eventually opened into an abandoned subway platform, the air cold and stale. I climbed a half-broken staircase and emerged into the night rain. Seoul glittered in the distance like another world. Neon lights, traffic hum, freedom, mocking and unreachable all at once. I ducked into a nearby alley and sank to my knees, clutching the data drives. What now, Ji-woo? I whispered. That's when a pair of headlights flared at the end of the street. A sleek black car rolled to a stop. The passenger door opened. Do-gyun. Get in, he said quietly. We don't have much time. Every instinct screamed not to trust him. But I had nowhere else to go. Inside the car, the city blurred past. Do-gyun drove fast but smooth, his jaw tense. Where's Jae-hyun? I asked. He's alive, he said, but captured. The old man moved faster than expected. My chest tightened. We have to go back. Do-gyun shook his head. You'd die before you reach the gates. Right now, keeping those drives safe is the only thing that matters. I glanced at him. Why are you helping me? His fingers drummed the steering wheel. Because he trusted me once. And because Minjai isn't the only one with doubts. So it was true. The alphas guarding Jae-hyun were divided. Do-gyun handed me a small device. Encrypted tracker, he's still inside the estate. If he moves, we'll know. What about your loyalty to the Kang family? He smiled faintly. Loyalty and survival aren't the same thing. We drove in silence after that. Rain streaked the windows. I stared at the glowing dots on the tracker screen, one pulsing weakly, marking Jae-hyun's location. Then the signal blinked twice and vanished. My heart lurched. What happened? Do-gyun's grip tightened on the wheel. Signal cut off. Either the tracker's destroyed, or he's being moved somewhere shielded. Then we have to find him. He looked at me then, eyes darker than the storm outside. You don't understand what you're asking. Going after him means taking on Kang Hyun-woo himself. I don't care, I snapped. He didn't care about money. He wanted freedom, and I won't let him lose it because I was too afraid. For a long moment, Do-gyun just stared. Then, slowly, he nodded. Then we'll need allies, and something stronger than courage. We stopped at a small apartment near the river, bare, quiet, almost forgotten. Do-gyun led me inside. No one from the estate knows this place. Stay here until I return. He set down a folder on the table. Inside were forged IDs, burner phones, and a passport. I looked at him. You were planning this? I've been planning something for years, he said softly. Jae-hyun's rebellion just gave me a reason. He turned toward the door, rain dripping from his coat. Rest while you can. The next move will decide everything. Then he left. The room was silent except for the hum of rain against the window. I sat on the bed, staring at the drives. The temptation to plug them in, to see what secrets they held, was unbearable. Finally, I did. The screen came alive with folders, financial records, offshore accounts, and video files. I clicked one. The footage showed a dimly lit boardroom. Kang Hyun-woo sat at the head of the table. Beside him, Min-jae and Do-gyun stood in silence as he spoke to a group of foreign investors. The serum will ensure complete submission among Omega laborers. Once distributed, our control will be absolute. My stomach turned. Submission serum. He was experimenting on Omegas. The video ended with a chilling line. Start with the rejects. No one will miss them. I closed the laptop, shaking. That was the truth Jae-hyun had risked everything to expose. Suddenly, the apartment door creaked. I froze. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Do-gyun wasn't supposed to be back yet. I grabbed the drives and ducked behind the counter just as the door opened fully. A shadow stepped inside, tall, commanding. And then I heard the voice I never wanted to hear again. Well, Kang Hyun-woo said softly, it seems my son's pet Omega is smarter than I thought. The lights flicked on. His eyes, cold as steel, locked on mine. For a heartbeat, everything inside me froze. Kang Hyun-woo filled the doorway like a storm in human form. Tall, dressed in black, not a hair out of place despite the rain outside. Behind him, two men in suits blocked the hall. His presence alone felt like gravity, pulling every breath out of the room. I didn't move. Didn't speak. My hands clenched around the data drives hidden in my sleeve. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, the faint scent of dominance filling the air. Not just alpha, but absolute authority. So this is where the little caretaker ran off to, he said softly. My son always did have a weakness for strays. I stayed silent. He smiled, and it wasn't kind. I must admit you caused quite the commotion. My estate's security in ruins, my guards divided, my heir refusing to kneel. His eyes narrowed slightly. You're at the center of it all. Not bad for a nobody Omega. I didn't do anything wrong, I managed, though my voice shook. Oh, you did everything wrong, he murmured. You made him believe he could defy me. His hand shot out faster than I could react. Fingers clamped around my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. His eyes were dark, reflecting nothing but power. "You're not special," he said. "Omegas are made to be used, not worshipped. Remember that." I jerked my face away. "Then why are you here? If I don't matter, why not just kill me?" He laughed softly, like a man amused by a child's bravery. "Because, Ji-woo, I don't waste potential." He walked around the room, studying the scattered objects with a collector's calm. Then he turned toward the laptop on the bed. "You've seen the files." My blood went cold. He tapped a key, and the paused video flickered back to life. His own face on the screen, speaking of the serum, of control. "Convincing footage," he said lightly. "But taken out of context. Do you even know what those words mean in the world of business? Negotiation, leverage, nothing more." "Liar," I whispered. "You're experimenting on omegas. You're destroying lives." He looked at me, and for the first time his mask slipped just slightly. "Do you think I built this empire by caring who got hurt? That's the difference between my son and me. He plays at rebellion. I am power." He stepped closer again, lowering his voice. "And power can be merciful, if you learn to kneel." My pulse thundered. "You want me to submit?" "I want you to survive," he corrected smoothly. "You could work for me, Ji-woo. Be the bridge to bring my son back to reason. You'd have anything you want. Safety, wealth, recognition. All I ask is loyalty. And if I refuse," his smile thinned, "then I erase you. Simple." The threat wasn't shouted. It was factual, inevitable. Like gravity again. I thought of Jae-hyun, trapped, maybe suffering. Of Min-jae's conflicted eyes, of Do-gyun's quiet defiance. I took a slow breath. "If you destroy me," I said, "the truth dies with me. But if you kill him, the world will know. He's not your shadow anymore." Hyun-woo's eyes hardened. "You think anyone will believe an unbonded Omega over me?" I didn't answer. Instead, I pressed the small remote I'd hidden beneath my sleeve. A faint light blinked on the corner of the table, the recording device I'd set up when I first opened the video files. Hyun-woo's gaze snapped to it. "That's been transmitting for the last 5 minutes," I said. "Every word you just said is backed up and already uploaded to a secure cloud." For the first time, the great Alpha looked uncertain. Then he laughed again, low and dangerous. "You've grown claws. I almost admire that." He gestured to his guards. "Take him." 2 men lunged forward. I darted for the door, twisting away, shoving one aside. A shot rang out. Not a bullet, but a tranquilizer dart, whizzing past my ear. I grabbed the data drives and bolted through the back exit. Rain slapped my face as I sprinted down the alley. Hyun-woo's voice echoed behind me. "Run all you like, Ji-woo. The city belongs to me." I ran until my lungs burned. Neon lights smeared across the wet streets. Every shadow felt like it could swallow me whole. Finally, I ducked into a subway station, nearly collapsing on a bench. The remote still blinked faintly in my hand. Signal active. Good. But I couldn't rest. Not while Jae-hyun was still in that house. I opened the burner phone Do-gyun had left. Only one number saved under Hyung. I hit call. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Ji-woo?" "Do-gyun," I gasped. "He found me. Hyun-woo was here." "Are you hurt?" "No, but he's moving fast. We need to get Jae-hyun before—" "Too late," Do-gyun interrupted. "He's being transported tonight to the Skyfort compound." "The what?" "A private offshore facility. No one gets in or out without Hyun-woo's clearance." The phone buzzed again. Another call. Unknown number. I froze, then answered. "Hello, Ji-woo," Min-jae's voice said. Calm. Cold. "If you want to see him alive, you'll come alone. I'll send the coordinates." The line went dead. Do-gyun cursed under his breath when I told him. "It's a trap." "I know," I said. "But if there's a chance he's alive, I have to go." He stared at me for a long time. Then he slid something across the table, a small silver earpiece. "I'll be listening. Don't trust anyone." I nodded, heart pounding. "When this ends," I said quietly, "no one else dies for him." "Don't make promises you can't keep," he murmured. Hours later, I stood beneath an old bridge on the outskirts of the city. The rain had stopped, but the air smelled of metal and secrets. Headlights appeared in the distance. A black SUV, familiar, unmarked. Min Jae stepped out, umbrella in hand, looking as composed as ever. But his eyes, those told another story, tired, heavy. "You came," he said softly. "Where is he?" "Inside," he nodded toward the car. "He's sedated. Safe, for now." "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "You could have handed me over hours ago." He exhaled slowly. "Because I'm done cleaning up that man's sins. Because Jae-hyun believed in something I stopped believing in a long time ago." Then he looked at me, sharp, burning. "But understand this, Ji-woo. If you're going to save him, you'll have to stop running. You'll have to fight." The words hit me harder than the rain ever could. He opened the SUV door. Inside, Jae-hyun lay unconscious, pale but breathing. "Take him," Min Jae said. "Go north. There's a private airfield near Naksan. Do-gyun will meet you there." "What about you?" "I'll delay the pursuit." "Min Jae," he cut me off with a rare, faint smile. "Don't waste it. Freedom doesn't come twice." Then he turned away, raising his gun toward the approaching headlights of another car, Hyun-woo's men. I jumped into the SUV and hit the gas, tires screeching across wet asphalt. In the rearview mirror, flashes of light and gunfire lit the bridge. Min Jae didn't look back. The road north was endless and silent, except for the low hum of the engine and Jae-hyun's shallow breathing beside me. His head rested against the window, eyes half closed, pale under the flickering streetlights. I drove faster, praying he'd stay alive long enough to reach the airfield. Every few minutes, I checked the rearview mirror, half expecting headlights, half expecting ghosts. Nothing but darkness. When dawn finally broke, the horizon bled gold over the sea cliffs of Naksan. That's when I saw the old hangar ahead. Do-gyun was waiting, sleeves rolled up, a pistol tucked under his jacket. "Good," he said as I pulled in. "You made it." "Barely," I muttered. "Min Jae, I know." His voice dipped, heavy. "He bought us time." We carried Jae-hyun inside. Do-gyun spread a blanket on the floor, checking his pulse. Sedatives strong but clean. They didn't poison him. Relief washed through me. Brief, fragile. "What now?" I asked. He pointed toward a corner where an old terminal flickered to life. "Now we use what you risked everything to steal." The drives unlocked under Jae-hyun's personal encryption key, something only Do-gyun could break. Lines of code, transaction logs, video evidence, enough to burn down the Kang dynasty twice over. Hyun-woo built his network through offshore subsidiaries, Do-gyun explained, fingers flying over the keyboard. Every asset routed through Skyford. You release these files, the stock collapses. Then we do it, he paused. If we go public now, he'll trace it back here within an hour. He'll kill every witness, including you and the heir. There must be another way. There is, he looked up. Skyford itself. The name sent a chill through me. That's where they're sending his Omega test subjects. Do-gyun nodded grimly. An artificial island, officially an R&D base. Unofficially, a prison. If we breach their servers there, we can dump everything straight to the inner council network. They'll have to act. So we fly there. Not yet. He motioned toward Jae-hyun. He's our key. Without him awake, the encryption stays locked halfway. We need him conscious to finish the upload. Hours passed. I cleaned Jae-hyun's wounds, fed him sips of water. The storm outside grew heavier, wind rattling the hangar doors. When his eyes finally opened, they were hazy but alive. "Ji-woo," he murmured. I nearly dropped the cup. "You're awake." He tried to sit up. I steadied him. Where's Min Jae?" I looked away. He stayed behind. He wanted us to reach the airfield. The silence that followed said everything we didn't. Jae-hyun clenched his jaw, eyes dark. "Then we make it count." Do-gyun approached with the drives. "Your father's fortress runs on these servers. You built half the system, didn't you?" "Yes," Jae-hyun said. which means I can break it. For the first time since the mansion, I saw a glimmer of fire in his gaze. Not fear, not despair. Defiance. Night settled again before we took off. The small plane rattled in the wind, cutting through dark clouds toward the South Sea. Jae-hyun sat beside me, hands clasped, eyes distant. Skyford isn't just a lab, he said quietly. It's where he kept me the year I disappeared. I turned sharply. You told everyone you were abroad. I lied. He wanted to test the serum on me, to see if it could fix my genetics. When I refused, he broke my leg to prove obedience. My chest tightened. That's why you never walk. He nodded once. That's why I stopped pretending to be his heir. We sat in silence as the plane shuddered through turbulence. Finally, I whispered, we'll end it there, where it began. He looked at me, voice soft but steady. Together. Hours later, the sea below glowed faintly with artificial light. Skyfort rose out of the fog, a circular platform of steel and glass, massive and silent, like a sleeping beast. Do-gyun guided the plane toward a hidden docking bay. Old maintenance route, he muttered. No radar signature. As we landed, alarms blipped faintly but died. The system recognized Jae-hyun's biometric ID. He smiled faintly. My father forgot one thing. He built this place for me. We slipped inside, empty corridors lined with mirrored panels. The hum of machines echoed like distant thunder. I felt the hairs on my neck rise. Where is everyone? Jae-hyun tapped a console. Night cycle. They rotate shifts. Perfect time to strike. Do-gyun loaded the data drives. Once we connect to the mainframe, we'll have 60 seconds before their firewall rebuilds. After that, no second chance. We reached the core chamber, a vast glass dome overlooking the ocean. Rows of tanks lined the walls. Inside floated figures, omegas, sedated, tubes running from their necks. I froze. Oh God. Jae-hyun's hands trembled. He said they were volunteers. He lied. I stepped closer to one of the tanks. The omega inside looked peaceful, like he was just sleeping. But the faint scars on his wrists said otherwise. Do-gyun plugged the drive into the terminal. We have to move. As code streamed across the screens, the light suddenly flared crimson. Security override engaged. He's here, Jae-hyun whispered. The door at the end of the chamber slid open. Kang Jae-hyun stepped inside, flanked by armed guards, his expression a blend of fury and fascination. Touching reunion, he said calmly. You really thought you could steal my world, son? Jae-hyun faced him, voice shaking but steady. It was never yours. Hyun-woo's eyes turned on me. You again, the runaway Omega. I swallowed hard but didn't move. He gestured toward the tanks. Do you see what I built? The end of chaos. Omegas who will never suffer, never rebel, never feel pain again. Perfect obedience. You call that peace? I shot back. You turned them into ghosts. He chuckled softly. Idealism. You sound just like him before I cured him of it. He reached for his gun. This ends now. But before he could aim, the floor shook, explosions echoing from the docking bay. Do-gyun's voice cut through the chaos. Firewalls down! Uploading! Hyun-woo fired. The bullet shattered the console beside him. Sparks flew. I grabbed Jae-hyun's chair, shoving him toward the secondary port. Finish it! I can't hold them, Do-gyun yelled, returning fire. Then die trying, Jae-hyun snapped. I slammed the final drive into place. The upload bar flashed across the screen. 25%, 46%, 67%. Then Hyun-woo lunged, grabbing me by the collar and slamming me against the wall. You think love makes you strong? He hissed. It makes you weak. Maybe, I gasped. But weakness can break monsters too. He raised his gun again, and a shot cracked through the air. Hyun-woo's eyes widened. He looked down at the spreading stain on his chest. Behind him stood Do-gyun, smoke curling from his pistol. Consider yourself overthrown, he said coldly. Hyun-woo fell. The alarms blared louder, lights flickering red. Jae-hyun hit the final key. The upload reached 100%, A system message flashed across the monitors. Data transferred. Inter-council alert triggered. Do-gyun turned toward us. We have to move, now. But as we turned for the exit, Hyun-woo's voice rasped weakly behind us. You think you've won? The world will never let you live free. He reached for a detonator clutched in his hand. Jae-hyun's eyes widened. No! The explosion ripped through the core. The world tilted, flames swallowing the glass dome. Water burst through the cracked walls. Do-gyun grabbed my arm, dragging us toward the emergency lift. Go! Go! The last thing I saw before the doors slammed shut was Hyun-woo's silhouette consumed by fire. The lift shot upward. The sound of collapsing metal roared beneath us. Jae-hyun slumped against me, breathing hard. It's done. I held him close, trembling. We're not out yet. Through the glass ceiling above, the ocean gleamed. Wild, endless, free. The night after Sky Fort fell was blacker than the sea. When I opened my eyes, there was nothing. No sky, no sound, just salt water burning my lungs. Then a hand gripped mine. Ji-woo! Do-gyun's voice, rough but alive. He pulled me up from the freezing waves and onto a fragment of wreckage. The sea stretched endlessly, Skyfort's ruins burning in the distance like a dying sun. I coughed, chest heaving, searching the water. Jae-hyun, where is he? He's here. Do-gyun turned, dragging a limp body across the debris. Jae-hyun's face was pale, lips blue, but when I pressed my ear to his chest, there it was, a heartbeat. Weak, but real. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. We have to move before the current drags us out. Do-gyun nodded grimly. There's a supply raft a few clicks south. We drift with the tide. We tied ourselves to the planks, the three of us bound together as the sea carried us toward a faint line of lights on the horizon. By dawn, the wreckage had taken us near Jeju's southern cliffs. A rescue boat appeared. Fishermen. Shocked by the debris raining from the sky. They didn't ask questions when they saw Jae-hyun's condition. They just helped. We reached land at sunrise. I collapsed on the wet sand, breathing hard. Do-gyun crouched beside me. You did it. The data's gone public. The whole world's seen what he did. I blinked at him. Then, it's over? He gave a bitter laugh. When an empire dies, the vultures come first. By evening, news drones filled the skies. The world called it the Sky Fort Revelation. Every screen showed footage of Kang Hyun-woo's human experiments, the Omega trafficking, the artificial serum. And Jae-hyun's name was on every headline, the betrayed heir. We hid in a safe house near the cliffs, an abandoned villa once owned by Do-gyun's mother. It was quiet, too quiet. When Jae-hyun finally woke, he was different. The softness in his eyes was gone, replaced by a kind of calm that felt dangerous. Everything's burning, he murmured, staring at the flickering TV. Every company my father built, collapsing in hours. You exposed him, I said. You freed them all. He shook his head. Freedom isn't free, Ji-woo. They'll come for me next, for the name, for the inheritance. Do-gyun leaned against the doorway. Then let them. We'll make sure they regret it. The look that passed between them was electric, uneasy, old blood and new alliances, two alphas circling the same fire. That night, I couldn't sleep. The rain whispered against the glass, and my thoughts tangled like storm clouds. I found Jae-hyun on the balcony, blanket around his shoulders, hair damp from the mist. Your leg. Does it hurt? I asked softly. He smiled faintly. It always does. But it reminds me I'm still here. I stepped closer, heart pounding. You were willing to die for them, for us. He looked at me then, eyes reflecting the city lights far below. I didn't die for them. I lived. For you. The words hit like lightning. I didn't realize I was crying until he brushed my cheek. But before I could speak, a voice from behind said, You shouldn't make promises you can't keep, heir. Do-gyun stood in the doorway, half-shadowed, expression unreadable. He held out a tablet. Council issued an arrest warrant for both of you. High treason. Jae-hyun frowned. I thought they'd see the truth. They did, Do-hyun said flatly. They just can't afford to admit it. He tossed the tablet aside, stepped closer. So we run. Again. The next few days were chaos. Fake IDs, hidden routes, safe houses burning. Each morning, the news reported another death tied to Kang Corporation. Executives found dead. Files erased. Someone was cleaning house. We moved constantly. Seoul, Busan, back to the coast. Jae-hyun grew quieter. Do-hyun grew colder. And me? I was caught between them, between two forces that burned the world for me in different ways. Sometimes, when the night was quiet, Jae-hyun would rest his head on my lap, murmuring in his sleep. Other times, I'd find Do-hyun at the window, weapon in hand, watching the city like a wolf waiting for a threat that never came. The tension between them simmered, unspoken, magnetic, dangerous. One morning, while Jae-hyun was out scouting, Do-hyun caught me alone. You love him, he said quietly. I froze. It's not. Yes, it is. His tone was sharp, but his eyes were soft. And I don't blame you. He's beautiful in a way that hurts. He stepped closer, close enough for me to feel the warmth of his breath. But don't forget, he's still his father's son. He's capable of anything. You're wrong, I whispered. Am I? He smirked, stepping back. Let's hope I stay that way. That night, Jae-hyun returned with news. They've frozen the last of the offshore accounts, but there's something else. Someone's rebuilding the project. Do-hyun stiffened. Impossible. We destroyed the data. They didn't need data, Jae-hyun said. They had survivors. I felt my stomach twist. The Omegas? He nodded. They're calling it Project Dawn, headed by a man named Choi In-seok. He used to work under my father. Now he's hunting me, for what's left of the genome. Do-hyun cursed under his breath. Then we hit him before he finds us. Jae-hyun's eyes flicked to me. No, we protect Jiwoo. He's the only one with stable blood from the first trial. I froze. What are you saying? He turned toward me slowly. They'll come for you next. That night, I couldn't breathe. The villa felt smaller, the shadows heavier. When I finally drifted into sleep, I dreamed of Skyfort burning and Yeonwoo's voice echoing in the fire. You think love makes you strong. It makes you a weapon. I woke to the sound of footsteps. Jae-hyun's bed was empty, the window open. Do-hyun was gone too. My pulse spiked. I stumbled outside, the wind sharp and cold. Down by the cliffs, I saw them. Two silhouettes standing inches apart, rain pouring between them. You think you can protect him alone? Do-hyun's voice cut through the storm. Jae-hyun didn't flinch. You think you can scare me away? I'm not trying to scare you, Do-hyun said. I'm warning you. If you lose control of that alpha gene again, you'll destroy him. Jae-hyun's voice broke low, dangerous. Then you better be there to stop me. They stood there, two predators locked in a promise neither wanted to make. And I, standing in the doorway, heart pounding, realized I didn't know which of them would save me, or which would ruin me first. The days after the argument were a blur of silence. Jae-hyun avoided Do-hyun's gaze. Do-hyun avoided mine. I pretended to sleep through the nights, but I could feel the air crackling between them like static. It wasn't peace. It was the stillness before something breaks. I thought I'd gotten used to running, to the constant fear, the moving shadows. But that morning, when I stepped outside to fetch water from the cliff stream, I realized how wrong I was. Because the world went quiet. No birds, no wind. Just a faint hum, too low, too steady to be natural. Then the tranquil air ripped apart. A drone dropped from the clouds, scanners glowing red. I froze. Before I could call for help, a tranquilizer dart hissed through the air. Pain bloomed in my neck. The last thing I saw was Jae-hyun sprinting toward me, shouting my name, before everything turned to white. I woke inside glass. Cold, sterile light filled the room. The air tasted metallic. My wrists were strapped, IV lines running from my veins to a humming console. On the other side of the glass stood a man in a white coat, tall, composed, eyes colder than winter. "Welcome back, Ji-woo." His voice was smooth, clinical. "I'm Dr. Choi In-seok." My pulse spiked. "You're behind Project Dawn." He smiled faintly. "I prefer to think of it as continuation. Skyfort failed because it mixed emotion with science. I won't make that mistake." I struggled, but the restraints bit deeper. "You won't get anything from me." "Oh, I already have," he said softly. "Your blood is perfect. Stabilized hybrid genes. Proof that an omega can survive alpha resonance without losing sanity. You are the next evolution." He turned toward a control panel. "When I'm finished, your DNA will seed a generation that will never disobey again." Rage flared through me. "You sound just like him." Choi paused. "Kang Jae-hyun lacked vision. I only lack patience." He pressed a key and agony surged through my body. The last thing I heard before darkness swallowed me again was the echo of alarms. And somewhere, distant thunder. Meanwhile, Do-hyun slammed his fist against the wall. "They took him right under our noses." Jae-hyun didn't answer. He was staring at the flickering tracker on the tablet. Ji-woo's biosignal, alive, but fading. "We'll find him," Jae-hyun said, voice steady but dangerous. "We have to." Do-hyun shot him a glare. "And do what? March into Project Dawn's base alone? We barely survived your father." "I'm not my father." "No," Do-hyun growled. "You're worse, because you think love will make this end differently." For a heartbeat, they stood nose to nose, two alphas ready to tear the world apart. Then Jae-hyun's expression softened. "You love him too." Do-hyun didn't deny it. "Enough to keep him alive. Even if it means stopping you." Jae-hyun smiled, cold and beautiful. "Then you'd better keep up." They tracked Project Dawn to a hidden compound beneath the Gyeonggi Tech Zone, disguised as a medical complex, surrounded by corporate security. It was a fortress of steel and deception, but they had a weapon. Jae-hyun's blood still carried Skyfort's encrypted DNA keys, and Do-hyun had military access codes from his days as a private enforcer. When they combined them, the system opened like an old wound. "Once we're inside," Do-hyun warned, checking his gun, "we split. I'll handle the labs. You find Ji-woo." Jae-hyun's voice was low. "If he's gone." "He's not." Do-hyun's jaw tightened. "He wouldn't give up on us, so don't you dare give up on him." Inside the compound, white corridors, cold air, echoes of machines and distant screaming. Jae-hyun moved like a ghost, taking down guards with silent precision. Every corner, every shadow reeked of his father's legacy, until he reached the lab. Ji-woo floated inside a containment capsule, wires running through his arms and chest. The sight froze Jae-hyun's breath. "Ji-woo!" The monitors flared red as his voice triggered the system alert. "Unauthorized entry detected." He smashed the glass with his bare hands. The shards sliced deep, but he didn't stop until Ji-woo collapsed into his arms, limp and trembling. "I've got you," Jae-hyun whispered. "I'm here." "Don't!" Ji-woo's voice cracked. "Don't let him take it." He looked down at the blood pooling on Ji-woo's wrist, faintly glowing, shimmering with strange energy. Choi In-seok appeared in the doorway, flanked by guards. "Too late, heir. The transformation has already begun." Do-hyun burst in from the side corridor, gun blazing. "Get down!" The room erupted in chaos. Bullets shattered glass. Alarms screamed. Jae-hyun shielded Ji-woo's body as Do-hyun tackled the nearest guard. Choi retreated behind a shielded console, smirking. "You think you can stop evolution?" Jae-hyun's voice was cold. "No, but I can erase it." He slammed Ji-woo's blood-soaked hand against the main terminal. The hybrid DNA surged through the system, overriding every command. Lights flickered. The air itself seemed to twist. The containment tanks around them began to melt, releasing streams of energy. Ji-woo screamed, a sound that wasn't human, wasn't Omega. It was something beyond. Do-gyun grabbed him, pulling him close. Ji-woo, breathe. Control it. But his eyes glowed silver, veins lit with alpha resonance. Choi and Seok stared, awe replacing arrogance. It worked. He's perfect. The next second, the console exploded. Choi's body was thrown across the lab. Jae-hyun caught Ji-woo as the energy flared out of control. Listen to me, he shouted. You're not a weapon. You're you. Ji-woo's voice trembled. I can't stop it. Then let me. He pressed his forehead to Ji-woo's, their breaths mingling, their pheromones sparking in the air. The surge dimmed, the light fading until only silence remained. When the dust cleared, Choi was gone, vanished into the wreckage. Do-gyun coughed, dragging himself up. We need to move before this place blows. Jae-hyun lifted Ji-woo gently. I won't lose him again. As they fled, alarms echoed through the halls, red lights painting the path to freedom. They emerged into the night just as the compound erupted behind them. The blast painted the sky in fire. Ji-woo stirred weakly in Jae-hyun's arms. Is it over? Do-gyun looked back at the flames. For now. Jae-hyun met his gaze. Choi's not dead. He took samples. Do-gyun nodded grimly. Then we hunt him. But Ji-woo's hand tightened around Jae-hyun's wrist. No, he whispered. We rest. Just for tonight. Jae-hyun hesitated, then nodded. Tonight. As dawn broke over the burning horizon, the three of them stood together on the ridge, bound by blood, by loss, by something deeper than destiny. The storm came 3 days after we fled Project Dawn. Thunder rolled over the southern coast as if the sky itself wanted to erase what humanity had done. We were hiding again, an abandoned lighthouse above the sea, its broken lens casting fractured light across the waves. Jae-hyun stood by the railing, his coat whipping in the wind, while Do-gyun cleaned his rifle near the hearth. I sat wrapped in a blanket, staring at my trembling hands. The veins beneath my skin still shimmered faintly silver. The transformation hadn't stopped. It was merely waiting. When I looked up, Jae-hyun's eyes met mine. Your pulse is unstable, he said quietly. You can feel it, can't you? I nodded. It's like something's breathing under my skin. Do-gyun frowned. You're burning out. The hybrid code's fusing too fast. So what? I asked, forcing a shaky smile. Maybe I was never meant to last. Jae-hyun crossed the room and knelt beside me. Don't say that. You survived Skyfort. You survived my father. You'll survive this too. I almost believed him, until the power flickered. The air shimmered, and a voice echoed through the static. You really thought you could erase perfection? The sound froze all of us. Choi, Do-gyun hissed, raising his weapon. Static danced across the old radio on the table. Choi's face appeared on the cracked screen, half-burned, eyes gleaming with fanatic light. I underestimated you, he said softly. But thank you for the sample, Ji-woo. You gave me what I needed. He tilted his head. Come to the island's heart if you want him back. The screen flickered to show a boy, one of the surviving Omegas from Skyfort, bound inside a containment tank, unconscious. Then darkness. Jae-hyun slammed his fist against the wall. He's still experimenting. Do-gyun checked his gear. Then we finish it tonight. I stood, weak but determined. No, we finish it. The island's heart was the same place it had all begun, beneath the ruins of Skyfort, rebuilt from the bones of the old world. As we approached by stolen boat, lightning slashed the sky. Jae-hyun's voice was low. When we go in, you stay behind me. No arguments. I smirked faintly. Since when do I ever listen? Do-gyun chuckled under his breath. You two really are going to kill me before this ends? But even through the tension, there was warmth. Raw, painful, human. Inside the ruins, the corridors pulsed with faint blue light. New machinery lined the walls, sleeker, colder, more efficient. Choi had rebuilt Skyfort's soul. When we reached the central chamber, he was waiting. He looked almost ethereal in the glow, half his face wrapped in gauze, the other half serene. "Welcome home," he said. "You've brought the missing pieces." Jae-hyun aimed his gun. "It ends here." Choi smiled. "It never ends, heir. Not until perfection is achieved." He pressed a key, and the containment tanks opened. Dozens of figures stepped out, synthetic hybrids, their eyes silver like mine. "You gave them life," Choi said softly. "Now watch them surpass you." The hybrids moved like shadows, silent and fast. Do-gyun fired first, dropping 2 before the others swarmed. Jae-hyun met them head-on, his movements brutal and precise, feral grace in every blow. But there were too many. I felt the pulse inside me quicken, the energy clawing to escape. "Ji-woo, no!" Do-gyun shouted. "You can't control it." I ignored him. I reached inward, into the silver storm burning through my veins, and let go. Light exploded. The hybrids froze mid-motion. Their eyes flickered, confusion replacing obedience. "Listen to me," I whispered through the energy's roar. "You're not weapons. You're free." One by one, they stopped fighting. The air fell still. Choi stared at me, horror twisting his face. "You're contaminating them with emotion." "Call it humanity," I said. He lunged for the control panel, but Jae-hyun was faster. A single shot rang out. Choi staggered back, clutching his chest. He smiled even as he fell. "You can't kill an idea." The floor beneath us trembled. Self-destruct sequence initiated. Do-gyun grabbed my arm. "We have to go." I turned to the hybrids. "Run." They obeyed, scattering into the tunnels as the walls began to collapse. Jae-hyun slung my arm over his shoulder. "Stay with me. I'm fine." The lie broke as pain ripped through me. The silver light flared again, uncontrollable. Do-gyun's voice was distant. "He's overloading." Jae-hyun looked at me, anguish breaking his composure. "Ji-woo, listen to me. You can let it go. You don't have to carry this power anymore." Tears burned my eyes. "If I let it go, it'll destroy everything." "Then destroy me with it," he said. "But not yourself." Something in his tone shattered the last wall inside me. I reached out, one hand gripping his, the other reaching for Do-gyun. The 3 of us, bound by blood, by fire, by something we never named. The energy burst outward, white, blinding, pure. Afterward, I woke to sunlight. Real sunlight, warm, soft. We were on the beach again, debris scattered around us. Jae-hyun sat beside me, covered in ash. His eyes red from tears he'd never admit. Do-gyun stood a few feet away, staring out at the sea. "What happened?" I whispered. "You did," Jae-hyun said softly. "You stopped it. You released the energy before it consumed the island." I blinked up at the sky. "Choi?" "Gone," Do-gyun said quietly. "No body, but no pulse either." Jae-hyun smiled faintly. "Maybe that's enough?" Silence settled between us, not empty, peaceful. For the first time in forever, there was no hum of machines, no alarms, no running, just waves. Later, as the sun dipped low, the 3 of us sat around a driftwood fire. Do-gyun handed me a cup of tea. "So, what now?" I looked between them. "Now we live." Jae-hyun chuckled softly. "That simple?" "After everything?" I said. "Yes." He leaned closer, brushing his fingers against mine. "I don't know what we are," he murmured, "but I know I don't want to lose you again." Do-gyun looked away, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Guess we'll just have to figure out how to share a world that finally stopped killing us." For once, none of us argued. The horizon burned gold, and for the first time, I believed it wasn't fire. It was dawn. Epilogue. Months later, whispers spread through the markets of Seoul. Of a new organization helping escaped hybrids. Of anonymous donors funding Omega protection shelters. No one knew their names. Only their symbol. A silver eclipse surrounded by 2 interlocking rings. I smiled when I saw it painted on a wall one evening. Freedom had a new face. And for the first time in my life, the world didn't look like a cage.